On the Wake Up Radio presents The Center with your host, DC Radical One.
Greetings, Black family, and welcome to On the Wake Up Radio. I am your host, DC Radical One, and you have entered the center. Shout out to our wonderful producer, Cindy Ashby. You can check us out on SoundCloud, YouTube, iTunes Podcast, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, and now iHeartRadio at On the Wake Up Radio. Also on the Wake Up Radio is expanding, and you can check out the new On the Wake Up Radio platform, OTW Tube. That's OTWTUBE.com, which is a platform owned by a sister, our wonderful producer, and it will be like a social media podcast and streaming platform. So you get a mix of several things, sort of like a YouTube and social media smashed together type thing happening there. And I believe within about a month and a half, there'll be live streaming available there. And I'll be doing I'll be make sure technology works, but I'll be doing simulcasting. So I'll be streaming things both ways on here and on OTW Tube. Greetings to Lord Vale. See, Lord Vale is here. Yeah, it's Lord Vale's birthday. I didn't expect you to come into the building. Greetings to Sister Nina. See, we only have a few people in the building so far, so I give people a few minutes to come in and join the discussion. I really didn't know how many people would join. I saw some people react and have some positive reactions when it was posted on Instagram. Greetings to Unique One Express. It will actually be hilarious if we end up having more sisters than brothers, because this is the Brothers Guide to Dating While Conscious. Greetings to Sister Vanessa. So it'll be interesting to see how many brothers come in the building. The reason I changed I was actually supposed to do this yesterday, but had some things to do, had things to take care of. We had an incoming ice storm, which came into town this morning. So I've been up all day, had to get up early to make some moves and get some things accomplished, because if you ever been in an ice storm, you know you can't do anything, if you have a serious ice storm, and I didn't want to risk it. Lord Bell asked, did I see Judas and Black Messiah? No, I haven't seen it yet, because I like I said, preparing for this inclement weather. I said I would give everybody a week to see it. I see some people talking about it, and then I'll probably see it this upcoming week, and then we can have a discussion on that next week. So if you've seen it, don't tell me nothing about it. I don't want to know about it. I have my thoughts. I've been researching, trying to see who wrote it, who the director is. Very weird that one of the co-writers is a Euro with very limited experience. And so I saw that, and not gonna lie, it made me be like, oh, okay, here we go. So yeah, that'll be one of the shows next week. I'll probably, if things work like they normally work, I'll probably see it Friday and talk about it Saturday. We'll see how the week goes. I know a lot of people. I saw a lot of people actually talking about it tonight. I don't. Out of the people that talked about it, I don't know how many of them have thoroughly studied that whole situation. As I think I told y'all, I do have, ironically enough, I didn't even think about it when I did it, but I do have video footage of the traitor in the Dr. Khaled Day lecture. And the Dr. Khaled Day lecture will end up being done, ironically enough, around Malcolm X's birthday. That's what it's looking like now. So, um, so that's what it's looking like now. That's what's planned. And the next thing that I plan to do, lecture wise, is Dr. Welsing Day, which will be a little more than a month from now, maybe about 5 weeks from now. And so I just got to make sure that everything is verified with the venue, and make sure things are a go from there. So we're about 5 6 minutes in. Only had looks like we only have a few people here. I'll give people a few more minutes. What else y'all want to talk about in the meantime before we get to the meat and potatoes of this discussion? Um, what's going on with y'all? And speaking, well, let me talk a little bit about the Judas and Black Messiah thing. How many people are actually familiar with that actual story and know about uh, William O'Neill and that whole thing before you actually get into the movie? How many people are familiar with that whole thing? You know, let me know if y'all familiar with that already. Um, it's interesting. I don't know if you saw it. Lord Bell says he's familiar. I don't know if people saw it. They're doing a fundraiser. Was it yesterday? I think it was yesterday. They're trying to save the house that he grew up in, and they're doing a fundraiser for that. And I'm trying to figure out, how did they get permission to make a movie about him, but yet his family is trying to raise. I think somebody said the sum was $350,000 to save the home he grew up in. I believe his parents still live in the home, if I'm not mistaken. So that's a whole nother thing that's weird to me. Not really sure what's going on. I guess I really have to research and try to figure out what's taking place with that. But if they're making money off of his name and his legacy, and he's not receiving any money from that, I'm going to be I won't be surprised, but I'll be disappointed. I'll be very disappointed with that. I'm not familiar with the filmmakers at all. Like, I don't. When I looked up the director and the writers, I wasn't familiar with any of them, so I have no idea who these people are. Everybody nowadays claims that they pro-black, and they love revolutionaries and this, that, and the other. But realistically, most people are. You know, you don't get very far in Hollywood being pro-black. This is just be realistic. The hats control Hollywood. They invented Hollywood. Hollywood is their thing. They give out the passes, and they allow people to talk about what they talk about. Oh, BB4ODA to Philly E Babe. Haven't seen you in a while. Hope you're doing well. And so that's my whole thing with that. So we'll see. I will check the movie out, because I said I was going to check the movie out, and I will we'll discuss it next weekend, as long as I get the opportunity to see it this week, which kind of depends on the weather right now. It is the middle of winter. You know, we are having more winter weather than we've had in a while. So We shall see. So Louisville, okay, you said you already saw it. Okay. Yeah, so um that's with that. So even though we have more sisters here than we have brothers, this show is called The Brother's Guide to Dating While Conscious, right? So thank you, Lordville, for actually being the only brother that I can see representing. I'm going to assume, because it's also Black Love Day, happy Black Love Day, happy Akoma Day to everyone. I'm going to assume that all the brothers are out on dates right now and that they don't need any advice that I'm about to give because they already have their plans implemented and they're making their move and doing their thing um for Black Love Day. Now, for those brothers who are not doing that, and for those brothers who will not, those plans that they've made, they don't lead to further plans. This show is for you. So even if you don't hear it live, it'll be up here on the internet for you to check out. Right? All right. So let's get into it. About I don't know a couple of months ago, I guess I did the too much WAP and not enough WIVEs show, and in that show, I gave the definition of wives. Right. So this show is specifically for conscious brothers who are looking for a wife. Now, it's not so I'm not teaching, how can I put it? I'm not teaching game. You know what I'm saying? Now, I could teach game, but I'm not teaching game. I'm not doing that. Um, and so what we're really gonna first thing we're gonna do, we're gonna review and we're going to talk about what are the attributes of a wife, right? So, reviewing from that show, in and we're using wives as an acronym. The W is wise, which means having or showing experience, knowledge, and good judgment. Why is this important? Again, because first of all, you don't want to have any person in your life that does not have good judgment. You want to have good judgment. You want the people around you to have good judgment. This is how you avoid a lot of drama, a lot of unnecessary hardships in life. It's plain and simple, right? Life is hard enough when you're black. Life is even harder when you're a black man. And you don't need anybody that's going to make your life even harder because of their lack of judgment, right? It's very simple. The I is intuitive, as we said before, possessing, or given to insight, right? This again is a spiritual quality, and this is largely, though not completely, a feminine quality, right? There are abilities that women have to feel or sense things that men don't always have or that men ignore. A woman that's highly in tune with her femininity has this ability. Sometimes you have you know, if you ever been with a sister, and sometimes she'll be like, I don't want you to go to, whatever it is. I don't want you to go to that show. I don't want you to leave, stay with me. And sometimes you're thinking like, oh, they just being needy or clingy. But sometimes that is a manifestation of them feeling danger that they can't even explain it and they can't see it, but they express it. Greetings to BB40, man. BB40, man, I made you a moderator. I don't know if you got that message. Also, I believe I made Sister Vanessa a moderator as well. Well, yeah, so that's intuitive. The V is virtuous. I talked about before, having or showing high moral standards. Again, there's a great lack of that amongst people in general, amongst black people, unfortunately, and without question amongst our sisters, even more unfortunately. So when you find a woman who is virtuous, I would suggest, attempting to lock her down as quickly as possible. The E is for enlightened, having advanced spiritual knowledge. We're not talking about religious knowledge. We're talking about knowledge of African culture, knowledge of African traditions. That's what we're talking about here when we're talking about enlightened. And the S in the wives is for sister because, as I said before, only black women are qualified for this position for black men. Right now, as we look at the dating landscape, what are you going to see as a black man? Okay, 60% of black women have one or more children. However, weirdly enough, only 49% of black men have children. So 51% of black men are single and unmarried. I mean, single and childless, right? But 60% of black women have children. But only 25% of black women are married. So what does that mean? That means that if you are a man who is single, which means if you wasn't, you probably wouldn't even listen to the show, and you're looking for a wife, the chances are high that you are going to find a woman that already has a child. Why? Because to go along with that 60%, the average age of a woman's first child in the black community is 21. That's when they have their first child. That's the average age, little over 21. Basically meaning that most women get pregnant and have a child during their college years, which means if you're over 30, the chances are, as a man, you meeting a woman that doesn't have a child is probably 1 in 3, right? But half of men don't have children, so this is an issue. Now, I'll be completely honest. I do not recommend brothers who do not have children to have serious relationships with sisters that do have children. Somebody's going to say, why do you say that? DC, why do you say that? There's several reasons. Let's get into some of the reasons. Reason number one, right? You're looking for a wife. One of the reasons you're looking for a wife, you're trying to carry on your seed, carry on your legacy, right? You have a certain amount of finite resources if you're a black man. If you have infinite resources, you can do whatever you want. But most of us have finite resources, right? When you get involved with a sister that already has a child and you don't have a child, you are sharing your resources with her child before you even share your resources with your own child. See how that works? Now let's think about that for a moment. Before you got ripped off. So by making this decision, you are in essence, in a way, shortchanging your children before they even come into existence. I mean, again, we have finite resources. So if you're giving some of your resources to someone else's child before you have your own children, you're limiting the resources that your children can have. What's the second problem with this? The second problem is a problem, and it's so funny. I was talking to a brother about this about 2-3 weeks ago. And then he tells me about a brother that we know going through the exact same scenario that I talked about. The chances are 90% that if you're in a situation where you are in essence the stepfather, you're going to get in a situation where you're going to hear these words: you ain't my daddy, or some iteration of that, right? You're going to have a rebellious child in your house at some point. It might happen when they're very young. It's usually like this: either when the child's very young or the child reaches teenage years, you're gonna have a problem. Again, I know a brother, good solid brother, does work in the community, works with youth. That I mean, just a solid, upstanding brother. Now, he used to be from the streets. He reformed himself, become solid brother, right? He's going through the scenario right now. Going through the scenario with a I know well the child's no longer a child. Child's basically an adult. Um, but she started doing that, I guess. Well, I heard about a year ago. And I know this person and very for all the time I've known child the young person, I guess is the word I'm looking for. Very well mannered, very well behaved, very sweet, nice, and all that stuff. Hits puberty, turns into a different person, right? Discord in your house. And this is something that I've heard over and over multiple times. So I just tell brothers, I'm like, look, I know you like the sister. Sister look good. She's smart. She this and this and that. You don't have children. She has children. You are unequally yoked. It's going 9 times out of 10. Not every time. There's always an exception to the rule. 9 times out of 10, this is going to be a problem. And it could be a problem that derails your whole relationship, even if everything else is working well. Because again, as conscious brothers, we're about, we should be about nation building, right? If you're about nation building, you can't have extra rebellion in your own home. You, it's hard enough being a black man in America. It's hard enough trying to have a relationship between two black people. It's hard enough trying to get two conscious black people to come together to fight against white supremacy. And then you add another dynamic to the situation. Good luck is all I can say. So, with that being said, you're going to tell me, fam, you just gave me the statistics and then you just shrunk my dating pool, right? Yes, I did. But we keeping it real here. You know what I'm saying? Brothers talking to brothers. Hey, we're going to keep it real. So, the question becomes, okay, how can you expand your dating pool? We're going to go with the obvious. There's two main ways to expand your dating pool. Doesn't matter who you are as a man. Doesn't matter if you're conscious. Doesn't matter if you're a dude on the street. That doesn't matter. None of that stuff. Every man in general. The two ways that you can expand your dating pool. One, physical fitness. The better you look, the more you're in the gym, your dating pool is going to expand. Now, I'm not going to lie to you and say the quality of women that you meet is going to expand. No, I'm not guaranteeing that. What I'm saying is the percentage, the number of women will expand, and hopefully within that, the quality will expand. But it's not guaranteed, right? You could just have more women that you don't want. That happens. Been there when I was younger, Spend all this time in the gym, spend all this time at GNC, and you meet a lot of women that still aren't what you're looking for. So those things happen. However, you're going to get more attention from women. It is what it is. Two, get your economics up. Again, no matter how conscious or enlightened a sister is, if you have, let's say you're making 50, and the medium income for black men in America is 40, but that's probably because we got a lot of brothers that's making zero, but whatever, right? But let's say you're making 50, and then you get a promotion or you go get another job and you're making 80. If that 80 goes to change the way you look a little bit, change your gear up, you got a different vehicle, suddenly you're gonna get more attention. Now, if you combine these two things, then you really increase your dating pool. But the fact of the matter is that while you're increasing your dating pool, doesn't mean you're increasing your, again, the quality of women. It is what it is, right? Now, here's a question. You're like, all right, DC, you giving us all these negative statistics. Give me something positive. All right. Here's something that brothers always ask. Literally, brothers ask, where are the women? So before the pandemic, I decided to simply answer that question by building something that would attract women, right? So that's how the singles mixers came about. Because I looked around, I saw brothers that were single, I saw sisters that I knew some sisters that were single. Um, None of these people seemed to cross paths or get together. And I said, okay, let's make an event. Made the event, it worked out. And we started doing that and we kept doing it, right? Now we're in the area, the pandemic, you can't have those things right now, the way you did, unfortunately. So now, what are we stuck with? All right, what are the things that are open? Because the things that are open, that's where you're gonna have to try to find the women. Number one, the gym. Hey, we already said, what I'm saying, if you work out, you're gonna increase the your dating pool. So hey, you're already at the gym, right? You're at the gym, you get to see sisters, you're gonna see some sisters there that are fit. Greetings, Sister Simba. You're gonna see some sisters there that are fit, you're gonna see some sisters there that are trying to get fit, right? It's a way for you to at least just look out, because I'm gonna be honest, a lot of women that go to the gym, a lot of women go to work out, a lot of women go to be seen by men who are working out. It's just the reality of the situation. That hasn't changed in 20 years. Probably not going to change in 20 more years. And the thing about it is, at least in this area, I can't speak for everywhere in the country, literally the gym is one of the few things that's open. So great place to look, scout. Doesn't guarantee you're gonna meet sisters that are conscious, but you will meet more sisters and you can get a chance to interact with them and check their mind out and see what they're about, right? Another great place. This is a great place. Uh, and similar to the gym, but even better if you're looking for sisters. Yoga class. I know brothers like, hold up, fam, I ain't doing no yoga. I wish I don't see the brother here. I wish the brother was here to bear witness. Black women doing yoga. I don't know what it is. Sisters that are in the yoga are some of the most attractive sisters, physically attractive sisters out there. Again, I don't know. I don't know if the yoga, I don't know if just attractive sisters are attracted to doing yoga. I don't know if yoga makes women look better. I don't know what it is. I have no idea. I cannot explain it. Some of the best looking women that I have seen in the last 5 years have been into yoga. I have no explanation for this whatsoever. This is just this is anecdotal evidence. It's just an observation, right? Um, B40 man said he just laughed out loud. I'm not even sure what you laughed out loud about, but yeah. So let me know what you laughing about, brother. But yeah, yoga class. Listen, it's worth your while. And then, brother, you got ripped off. Said that Zumba. Hey, those in the African dance class and stuff like that. Man. Anyway, Lord Bell says he got invited to a yoga event. You got invited to a yoga event last night in Atlanta and fell asleep and missed the event. In Atlanta? Oh my goodness. Brother. Yeah, you messed up on that one. You fumbled the ball at the back of the end zone. Atlanta, yeah. Atlanta's crazy because they're like So like a lot of women there that are like really, really searching. But of course, it's also Atlanta, which means you gotta really, really do your be thorough in your investigation. Don't even get me started. Atlanta's so bad. Quick sidebar. Atlanta's so bad with Transformers that brothers are actually looking for women with children just to verify that they're women. That's how bad Atlanta is. So on one end, um, oh, BB48, man. Yeah, that actually, yeah, that would be hilarious, brother. Seeing you try to do yoga out here, that would be. But I'm sure it'd be two or three sisters trying to help you out, give you personal instruction. But yeah, that I mean, that's how bad Atlanta is with just the Transformers. But it's weird because there are also a lot of there's a lot of conscious sisters in Atlanta, and a lot of some nice looking conscious sisters in Atlanta as well. So and then of course conscious events when conscious events start happening again. Um Baba Baruti, the Barutis have their complementarity conference every year. There's always brothers and sisters there looking for each other there. So hopefully this year they'll start that up again. Have I been to one? I was supposed to go to one year and I couldn't get off work. I was disgusted. But events like that. Um, yeah, Louisville, definitely, no question, no question. Um, I'm trying to think. Weirdly enough, it's gonna sound weird. Weirdly enough, because there's so few places you can go. Places like grocery store, right? Better the grocery store, higher quality women. It's a weird thing. Like you, let's say you're a vegan, you're over there in the aisle with the vegan food and this and stuff like that. Hey, you might bump into a sister there. I wouldn't say specifically, excuse me, specifically go to the store for that. I'm just saying while you're in the store, you know, I won't give out any free plugs or any stores because we don't black people don't own any stores, but yeah, you might want to keep your eye out, you know what I'm saying? Every now and then you just bump into a sister that looks good and you know, just holler at her, you know. I mean, at this point, what do you got to lose? I mean, we all thought it was gonna be the end of the world. You know what I'm saying? Not too long ago. So, hey, it is what it is, right? So, with that being that, what I wanted to do is talk about a few of the psychological archetypes of women, of quote unquote conscious women, right? This isn't all of them, but these just a few of the archetypes and what you can expect from these women, right? The first, okay, the first woman I'll talk about is what I call a help meet, right? These are the type of sisters that usually are in organizations already, right? And they're usually the type that they're not you they won't be on the stage, they won't be speaking anything like that, but they'll be helping out behind the scenes, they'll be organizing stuff, they'll be doing stuff like that. These are these are sisters that will generally make good compliments, you know, as long as y'all personality types match, because you know there is some of that. Oh, let's see. You got ripped off said since switching food options, I can say surprisingly, I see more sisters in health food stores more than brothers. See, you got ripped off. You bearing witness to what I'm saying. Um, but the help meets are usually these are types of sisters that because they're already like used to helping men and being around men because a lot of times they're in an organization. These are usually good uh relationship women, right? Um, they're not because they're used to helping. They're not rebellious. They're not argumentative. They'll let you know their opinion, but they're not they're cooperative, right? They're used to cooperating with people. And these are type of women that can basically, they're what I call force multipliers. Like whatever you have, they'll make it better. Whatever idea you have, they'll give you an idea to make it work better. Whatever you bring to them will be multiplied. That's why I call them force multipliers, right? A lot of times, sisters that are helpmeets are more quiet and reserved. Um, so you have to go to them. They're not going, even if they like a brother, they're not going to usually come to you. They're just going to kind of observe, lay in the cut, um, and they'll just make sure they're seen by the man that they want to approach them. But you have to pick up on the signals, or you'll just miss out. They just be like, oh, okay, I guess he ain't interested. But again, help meets are, you can find one. If you can find one, even if y'all don't get together, you have to have these type of women in your life because they make things better in general. They just do. They just have a way of either making things that aren't working work or making things that are working work better. Right? Just what they do. That's just who they are. Can't explain it. Don't know how it works. Just glad that these women exist. Um, almost, almost the opposite of the help meet are what I call the rescue me's. What is a rescue me? If you're old enough, you remember a song that I'll Be Sure had called "Rescue Me." Right? These are the type of sisters that come into the movement, right? Come into consciousness, and what happens is that they have a lot of issues when they come in, right? So these will be sisters that, and it could be so many things. They may come around initially because they're having problems with their child, having especially sisters with boys. They're looking for somebody to be a jegna to their sons. These are sisters that sometimes they've been in some type of abusive situation. They want to be around positive, strong men. Sisters that um, instead of abusive situation with a boyfriend or whatever, you also have the sisters that are survivors of sexual trauma. Um, a lot of those sisters come around straight black pride because of what we speak on and what we represent. Um, just different situations, and it varies, right? Sometimes you can meet a sister and they've been through something, but they have they're working their way through it, and they don't need you to rescue them. And then there's other times when you meet these sisters and they just have like a ton of issues, and they want you to magically fix them because they see you and you're smart and intelligent and strong and pro black and this and that. That brother's gonna help me. You know what I'm saying? Um, Proceed with caution. You know, you meet a rescue me, proceed with caution. You can help people without letting them totally into your life. Because if you're trying to make moves and you're trying to do things and you have to do what they call in business a cost benefit analysis. You know what I'm saying? How much will it cost to engage with this person? How much will it benefit me? Um, True rescue me's always cost more than they benefit. They just do. Doesn't matter how nice a person is. Doesn't matter how sweet they are. Doesn't matter how great their cooking is or any of that. The other things, the baggage that comes with them, is going to always cost in the long run more than the benefit. Because of course, I wouldn't call them rescue me's if they didn't need rescuing. And it is kind of become a thing that conscious brothers are. This brother told me this, and I just kind of looked at him. I was like, "Wow, that's what they saying." Brother was like, man, you got to be careful because they saying that conscious brothers are the quote unquote simps of the black community. And I can see why people say that because we are the only black men who have pledged our allegiance to black women. And that's an unpopular position to take in today's time. When I go on YouTube and listen to other people, virtually everyone, every brother seemingly, but it's probably, maybe it's not every brother, but it just seems like every brother has something, either something negative to say about black women, or they have not and will not pledge their allegiance to black women, right? It is what it is. We're the outlier. We're completely different. And so therefore we're going to attract a lot of women who are in a lot of different circumstances, right? Because we're kind of seen as like, a lot of times, being completely honest, sometimes we're seen as the last best hope. It is what it is. But again, you have to weigh those things in the balance. You still have to do what's best for you, even while trying to help other people, right? The third type that you'll meet at a lot of conscious events and within the community is the what I call the matriarchal sister. This is usually an older sister. Sometimes you get a younger sister, but they have a lot of wisdom. And this is a woman that just projects a motherly feel to them. They're usually very warm, very kind. This is the type of woman that would be like, will cook for everybody, or almost like a young grandmother type. You know what I'm saying? We have these type of sisters in the community. Um, Normally, these sisters are already married, and they've developed this characteristic. But every now and again, it's weird. You'll meet a younger. You'll see these attributes in a younger single woman. Doesn't happen often, but every now and then you run into it. It's kind of weird when you run into it. I can't, again, one of those things I can't explain, don't know how it works, but you do run into it on occasion. Um, Usually when I meet sisters like this, like they just the energy they project, it just the energy they project, you kind of respect them in a way that I don't think about going at those type of sisters like that. But they're so rare that it's not a big thing. It's just, it is what it is. Um, Another group of sisters that's real interesting because they kind of fit in two different categories is the second generation conscious sister. These fall in two categories, right? You have now both categories. These are women who their parents were in whatever movement or whatever group or part of a community. So they've been in the movement from birth, right? So so let's say you were in the nation. Second generation sister, her parents were in the nation. So if you try to holler at a sister like that, you basically have to you have to be like very high up in that organization or very high up in that community because they know everything about the community. They grown up with it. They lived through it. They know how everything's supposed to go. They know how everything's supposed to be. Their fathers has been the representation of it. And so you have to live up basically to that standard, right? Then on the complete opposite of this thing is the same woman that's grown up. Sometimes they can be in the same family. Same woman grown up in the same environment, been through the same thing, and they have all this knowledge. And you'll meet them and you'll think, oh man, this is great. She know this and this and that and this and that. And if they're depending on their age, right, they could be to the point where they're tired of all this. They're tired of all the knowledge. They're tired of going to the events. Whatever they have to do, that they're growing up with, they don't want to do it anymore, right? But they still have the teachings in them, and they'll be attracted to you because you are for a familiar spirit, right? You're the type of person that they're used to dealing with. You're the type of person that they're used to being around, but they don't want to do the things that they have always done. So they, especially sometimes if you get a sister, she's in her mid 30s, late 30s, and she's second generation sister. She does. She doesn't even want to talk about it, right? But she want to be with you, So you talking about, whatever you're doing lectures, or you gotta go to this event and this and this and that. And she's like, oh yeah, that's cool, but let's go to Vegas. And you be like, let's go to Vegas, really? Why? Stuff like that. It's a weird thing. I've experienced it. I've been through it. Um, when you deal with second generation sisters, you're gonna get one or the other. I've seen them both. Two completely opposite ends of the spectrum. If you deal with that type of sister, just know you gotta, on one end you gotta step your game up. On the other end, you're gonna be frustrated because she has basically tired of being raised first, or whatever the case may be. Right? And I know that's weird, right? The next sister, kind of related, because a lot of times they go hand in hand. The second generation sister is what I call the female scholars. These are the sisters that have read all the books, seen all the DVDs, seen all the lectures, right? And they're just well versed, highly educated in whatever form of knowledge that you're into. If you're an intellectual type of brother, these are the type of women that you can fall in love with their mind, and just, y'all just be talking about ideas, and just exploring each other's mind for hours. And if you're intellectual, brother, you you have to be careful, because this type of woman will just, they'll just draw you in, because y'all will be so much alike. And a lot of times you either gonna think a lot alike, or weirdly enough, can't have a lot of conflict, because you got two people that think they know everything. And that of course will cause conflict. But they're not a lot of these sisters, which is another thing that makes them more alluring, because you don't run into women like this all the time. And when you do, especially if you're a brother with a lot of knowledge and you do a lot of study and things like that, man, you're gonna have your hands full with these sisters, because they're gonna magnetize you. I've seen it. That's all I'm saying. I've seen it. Next is what I call the Panther sister. These are like the revolutionary. These are sisters that go to the gun range with you. These are the sisters that's like super pro black. They don't like no Urugu. They don't like um they don't like nothing. They don't like Chi Wayne Low. They don't like nobody. Small hats, whatever. They don't like nobody that's not black. They don't like. They don't like. I mean, they don't like dudes that swirl. They don't like nobody. Like, they just 100% gung ho, pro black, race first, gun toting. Like I said, like a Panther sister, just go hard. Um, if you're that type of brother, that type of sister you need. You either need, so weird. You either need that type of sister, or you need the complete opposite. There's no in between. If you like hardcore, rah rah, super pro black dude, you either have to get one end of the spectrum or the other. And every sister that I know that's like this, their man is either super duper pro black with them, or he's a completely chill, laid back type brother, where you'll see her more at the front lines, and you'll see him, and you won't even know who he is, and he'll just be laying in the cut, just observing her, making sure she's all right. Again, you're gonna deal with that type of woman. You got to be strong. because anything soft, weak, or as we used to say back in the day in DC, suckified, she's not having it. She will, that type of sister will run you clean over if you don't have all your all your testosterone running through you properly, right? Um, and last on this list is what I call the sage and crystal girls. All right, here we go. You know the sage and crystal girl. You see them on Instagram, probably on Facebook. You know what I'm saying? They burn sage. They got the crystals and things like that. But it's also a lot of times the same women that you'll see. What's the word I look for? These are like free spirited. Um, the ones I'm talking about are free spirited, um, spiritual but not religious, but have kind of nebulous type of and their spirituality doesn't necessarily come with a high moral character, right? So a lot of times when you see these sisters, these a lot of times, not all the time, a lot of times, you'll see these sisters that are you see them with a lot of tattoos, a lot of piercings, and they are basically bringing a lot of times their traumas to the community and masking them in this nebulous spirituality, right? Um, and so you'll see this type of sister, and she'll be talking all this stuff and this and this and that. And you follow her on social media. Next thing you know, you'll see her doing stuff like pole dancing, right? Where'd you learn that? I only know one place they do pole dancing. I know they try to make it a thing now, but you know. Oh, Lord Bell says the Sage and Crystal women are either gay or swirlers in your opinion. I'm about to get to one more. You reminded me. I'm glad you reminded me of something like that. Right? Yeah, no. There are a lot of yeah, these are also the same type of women, to your point. These are also the same type of women that will be part of the poly crowd. And a lot of them go both ways. You just have to be careful and investigate what you're getting into with these type of sisters. But you know them when you see them, right? You just know them when you see them. But Lord Bell just reminded me of somebody that I don't know how I missed it, because these are the women that oftentimes look the most pro black, and that is the black feminists. One of the first black feminists that I remember really running into was dark skin, had locks, very attractive, wearing onks and all that good stuff. Um, was quoting different books and all this, and was a stone cold feminist. Like, just, I'm talking like serious stone cold feminist. You will run into those, and you have to you have to listen to them. You have to observe them, because they'll sound pro black and they'll be talking all this stuff, and they'll be talking about white supremacy. They'll be talking about all that. The basically the woke crowd. These are the type of women that you'll think are pro black and you'll think are race first, and they're like the BLM crowd. Y'all now they're everywhere and you can see them. Brothers know who I'm talking about now. They're obvious. But when I first ran into them 10 years ago, I didn't know what I was running into. Again, that's not, you don't even want to even, you don't want to go there. You don't want to go there. When you observe and you see what it is, just leave well enough alone. There's nothing there but pain and suffering and emotional distress. I, don't do it to yourself. Don't do it. Sometimes they be looking good. I'm not gonna lie. You see them, you're like, oh wow, okay. They start talking, bruh. Trust me. Man, listen. I've seen there's a couple of sisters here in DC that met, um, and it is DC is terrible for this. Where they there is a group of sisters that are like quote unquote pro black, right? Um, Attractive, intelligent, all this stuff. Laura Bell says he met one last year, had to cut her off. Yeah, I understand. And they they'll go to events and you'll see them at black bookstores, which is another place to meet sisters if you have black bookstores in your area. Um, See them at black bookstores, see them at events, so forth, so on. And you get to talking to them. And you drop some knowledge on them, and they receptive. And they looking at you like, oh wow, this brother got a lot of knowledge. He's interested in this and this and that. And you think everything is all good, and you hit it off. And then what happens? Whether it happens in that first conversation or you get a number later on, what happens? At some point, Lord Bell say met her at a black bookstore. See, and that's what I'm talking about. Um, you start talking about LGBT, right? Some type of way that comes up. It's kind of hard for that conversation not to come up now. Excuse me. And you'll say something. You be like, yeah, this these transformers, this stuff is crazy. How they pushing that, and then everything goes left. Oh, what do you mean? Why are you using that type of name? Don't tell me you homophobic. Blah 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 blah. Brothers, if you had that conversation, raise your hand in the chat because I know I've had it more than once. One of the most beautiful black women that I've seen in DC. We had that conversation. Met her at a at a black bookstore, hilariously enough. Actually had seen her. I think I've seen her on Instagram. BB40, he man says repeatedly. Um, and met her in person. She actually looked way better in person than she did on Instagram. Chocolate sister, absolutely just stunning. Like I'm talking about stunning. I'm talking about like how can I put it? I'm talking about like even brothers who are used to getting top flight women will pause. It right. Talk to a real nice, sweet, beautiful personality. I'm like, yo, this is crazy. Somehow we got on that LGBT discussion. It's like, oh man, oh my goodness. Peace to YB Mitch, and that was that. That was that. And for brothers who are, I guess that's millennial generation. For brothers who are in their early to mid 30s, you're gonna run into this so many times. You're gonna meet so many sisters that you think are attractive and um, smart and educated and kind and this and that. And you start talking about when that LGBT issue comes up, you're gonna be so disappointed. You're gonna be so disappointed. But here's the reality situation. You gotta keep it 100. You can't have that woman raising your child in this environment here in America in this time. You can't do it. Uh, Brother, you got ripped off. Said only had that talk about Urugu, never over LGBT. Um, yeah, I guess it depends on where you are, because you out there, you kind of in Urugu land, so I can imagine. Greetings, brother Igwe. I'm glad you can make it. I know you say sometimes you don't get the notification, so I don't know how long you've been in, but greetings to you. But realistically, I told my brother, Told my younger brother, I said, in his time, man, Lord Bell, you read the script, you beat me to the punch. In this time, the LGBT issue is the Christianity of my youth. And what do I mean by that? Meaning that um the thing the thing that would stop you from pursuing a sister, or the thing that would make it basically eventually impossible for y'all to be together at that time, was the religion, the Christianity, right? You wasn't with the Christianity, they were into the church. It just eventually it's just gonna go left. It's not gonna work. You're conscious, you don't believe in what she believes in what she believes in. And then the whole thing is with that was that the fact was the anti-Africanness that was in the Christianity as well, that was just built into it. That just the white supremacy of it at that time. This is right around the time they started painting Jesus black, but everybody didn't get that far back then. That was an issue that's made it hard to find a sister to build with then. The LGBT thing is the thing that's hard to make it. Um, that makes it hard to build with a sister now. And Brother Igwe says you don't meet many women that haven't had a homosexual experience. Yeah, brother. That's a whole nother thing. That's a whole nother issue. I hadn't even got to that. I'm glad you brought it up. I hadn't even got to that. Between the fact that, and I hadn't even mentioned this. Number one, while we were talking about statistics, 2 out of 3 sisters you meet have been sexually abused. And if a sister hasn't had counseling for that issue is going to manifest itself in different ways. One of the ways that it manifests itself in is promiscuity. Again, cannot build with a sister that belongs to everybody. I said it before. That which belongs to everyone belongs to no one. Um, and then what this brother's talking about, that's an outgrowth a lot of times of sexual trauma as well. Um, it's just so when you have a situation like that where you're just gonna meet a lot of sisters that have that issue, and you have to weigh in the balance. Is that something they passed? Is that something they've dealt with? Is that something that they sought help for? Is that something they want to get away from? You had to weigh all those things in the balance, because again, you don't want that passed on to your children. Because again, we are, or should be, as brothers who are conscious, quote unquote, looking for what I talked about at the beginning, wives, so that we can pass on our lineage and continue to build institutions and do nation building. So when that type of situation comes up, it's it's very difficult to deal with a sister like that on a serious basis, because you never know. Like, I know, man, that's why I run into so many situations. That's how I know I'm getting old. I remember this brother I knew. This brother owned his own business. Um, Tall, dark skinned brother. You know what I'm saying? Well built, charismatic. Man, his wife left him for a whole woman, bro. You know what I'm saying? Just straight up. Oh, my brother, that Celine is in the building. Straight Black Pride and the BB48. Yeah. So, like I said, his brother had his own business, had you know what I'm saying? Tall brother, well built, smooth, you know what I'm saying? I'm sure got a lot of attention from the ladies. His wife left him for a whole woman. I couldn't believe it when they told me the story. I was like, They're like, yeah, his wife left him. I was like, whoa, that's crazy. That's but not, not totally shocking. Then they're like, yeah, his wife left him for another woman. I'm like, what happened? What? And this has been this like maybe 15 years ago. So what's taking place now. So for those brothers, that any brothers that might be here that into the poly thing, just understand and be careful. The women, the woman might want to be into that just to get to another woman and bypass you altogether. That's all I'm saying. I'm not telling people to do or not do the poly thing. I'm just saying that's something to look out for, especially if you get one of these Sage and Crystal girls talking about the poly thing. Oh man, yeah, you in trouble. That woman, 8 out of 10 times wants another woman, right? That's just the way it is. So, um, that's pretty much for the most part. Let me see. Do I got all? Yeah, those are pretty much all the psychological archetypes of women that you'll quote unquote conscious women that you'll meet. Sometimes you'll meet a sister that's kind of a mix of a couple of different things, but that and I had let me see. I had another list. I think it was one I left off, but I can't recall what it was. But I think I got pretty much all of them covered. And if you go to enough conscious events and you just observe people's social media and things like that, now that I've said it, you'll be able to see these archetypes. Like it'll be real clear to you. It's kind of like the Matrix. Once you see the Matrix, you see the Matrix. And then depending on your personality type and where you are and what you're about and what your ideology is, then you can kind of filter in and figure out the type of woman that you need that is wife worthy. Now, I'll be completely honest. For us, it's hard because in this day and age, number one, most women, even some women who claim to be conscious, most women um, are pro LGBT. They just are. And the younger the woman, the higher percentage that she's pro LGBT. There are some women who are younger who are not, but it's rare. And you got to pick those out, and a lot of times you got to take them out of the environment that they're in because they'll be around a bunch of people who will be like a bunch of women, especially they'll be like, "What's wrong with you?" And they'll ridicule them and browbeat them into being a part of that, right? So you have to take those type of women when you meet them. You got to get them out that environment. Um, and there's another thing too. You know, just got to talk about this because we talking about wife worthy women. Unfortunately for women, there is an expiration date. You know, if you want to have multiple children, you're gonna want a woman who is um between I say 25 and 34. Because here's the thing we don't think about, but a woman's fertility starts at an age where it's not even legal for her to be dealing with a man, right? So if you take the average woman's prime fertility years, you're talking about basically, I would say 18 to about 30. That's their prime fertility years. This is a time where they can have, you know, multiple children in a short span of time and return to their former size. This is a time where they have fewer complications as far as pregnancy. Is a time where, and it's also a lot of times in that window is where they start to have the desire and the urge to have children, right? Now, here's the problem. What's the problem? The problem in modern society is many women, including women who end up being conscious later, right? Many women go through, especially millennial women, just what they're doing. They go through the quote unquote whole phase. This is what they call it. It's not what I'm calling it. And they will waste a large percentage of their prime reproductive years in this, and then want to come around and find a man, right? After all this stuff is taking place, to settle down with and try to build a relationship with. I'm going to get to the problem in a minute. You got ripped off says this may sound crazy, but some brothers have to take up the fight and date those hurt sisters. Some women have good intentions, but haven't come across a man, just immature boys. Um, yes, but there's a caveat here. You have to make sure that that sister is willing to. And the bad part is now we don't have anywhere near as many, at least to my knowledge, and I actually went to the convention a couple of years ago. We don't have as many black and African centered psychotherapists as we need, because a lot of times you can't just heal that sister with your knowledge and love and things like that. You you can, but you don't want to put yourself in a situation where you sacrifice yourself and you heal that person just for the next person. You get them right for the next guy. You don't want to do that, because being completely honest, we as race first African men, according to Dr. Welsing, are the best men. And so we can't take so much time out trying to save one person that we don't get the work done that we need to try to save a larger percentage of our people. I understand what you're saying, and I partially agree, but you have to weigh those things in a balance. You have to weigh those things on the scale of Mayat, because you can't let yourself get derailed trying to save them. Did somebody else have something? I thought I saw somebody else with something. No. Um, so I just lost my complete train of thought addressing brother. You got ripped off. Somebody help me out. Where was I before I addressed that question? And I said I would go about an hour and a half on this subject, which means we got about 15 more minutes. So if brothers have any more questions or um any more questions or thoughts, put those in the chat. I'm losing my voice here. Brother Igwe says you have to work with those that are willing to work with you. Indeed. Oh, and I forgot. I didn't talk about this. Speaking of working with you, um, sisters who are not conscious, right? I haven't talked about this at all. I talked about all the different types of sisters that are conscious. I haven't talked about sisters that aren't conscious. Occasionally, well, maybe actually, depending on who you are, more than occasionally, be completely honest, you will meet sisters who they don't have any knowledge. Um, it's kind of hard for a sister to completely have zero knowledge nowadays just because of the internet. But there's a regular sister, has a little bit of knowledge or whatever. She might, see the stuff that's going on, but not really. She hadn't studied anything, things like that. Occasionally, well, more than occasionally, a lot of times, you'll meet this type of sister, and you're thinking to yourself, okay, should I pursue this type of sister? If you see potential, if you see something in her, those type of sisters are, because especially you're just dating, you're checking out the landscape, you're talking to different sisters, you're trying to just see who's who and who's available and things like that. Is absolutely nothing wrong with approaching a sister that does not have knowledge. The thing you have to weigh is, um, you have to weigh. You have first of all, you have to see what her interest is in you. Is there does she have any interest in you beyond the physical, excuse me? Because nowadays, a lot of women, in the age of feminism, a lot of women think like men, and sometimes a sister just be interested in you just because um, she likes some entertainment. you know, it is what it is. We've all been there, I'm sure, and we've all made the decision to do whatever we made the decision to do. You don't have to state it publicly, because we're all men, and you know, men do manly things at times. So you have to measure what her interest is, right? And then you have to measure her potential. And the good thing is, generally, it doesn't take but a couple of conversations for you to figure out what the sister's about. A lot of times, if you can meet a woman that doesn't have knowledge, right, but she comes from a good family structure, right, and so she has a good relationship with her father, and she's used to being around men. She knows how men are, so she's not coming from that feminist mentality. A lot of times with those type of sisters, you can work with them, especially if they come from a semi-conservative background, but not necessarily religious. Like you find a lot of these sisters, you find these sisters a lot of times like in the deep south, and sometimes you can work with them. Sometimes you can work with them. Sometimes you can teach them, and really, when you begin to teach a sister, you'll be able, how she takes the teaching will determine whether or not you should pursue that further. And the BB Fahodier man says, "Where are the sisters I can nerd out about Marvel movies and such?" Man, you got to go to the got to go to the Comic Con and all that good stuff. But it's so funny. Speaking of that, I was where were we coming? We were coming from somewhere. We may have been actually been coming from a meeting, and they had the Comic Con or one of those conventions here in DC about, it's maybe about 3 or 4 years ago now. And you see these sisters, and they doing the what do you call it, the cosplay, dressing up as Storm and this and that, and you see the brothers. And this is the weird part though. And I was talking to a sister about this. We were laughing about this. Um, you'll see those sisters, and they'll be with a Yurugu, and you'll see those brothers. They're at the same event, into the same thing, into the comics and the video games and the cosplay and all this. And the brothers with Yurugu and the sisters with Yurugu. I don't understand it personally. Like, you're both black, you're both into the whole comic thing or the Marvel movie or whatever, anime, whatever the case may be, all that different type of stuff. And yet, those two people or two groups of people, black men and black women that are into that, they don't, they're not checking for each other. It's the weirdest thing. Um, but I have to assume that at least some of those women that are into that at least will be open to being with a black man. I'm just making the assumption. I mean, just mathematically, it has to be the case. But yeah, hey fam, sometimes you just got to keep some of your stuff to yourself. Sometimes you just got to watch the Marvel movies by yourself, and then you can you had to break out the Love Jones and the with some of the other old classic ones that came out way back in the day. You had to break those out, and watch those with prospective queens. But yeah, excuse me, I'm losing my voice here for whatever reason. Brothers, you got any more questions, comments, ideas, um, stories? I got some stories, but I can't talk about them here. They would only be they would be Patreon worthy, you know. But I can't talk about them here. But one thing I'll say real quick is that every brother, no matter who you are, every brother has a point, and it you don't always recognize it when it happens, right? Because it kind of a lot of times it happens all of a sudden. Every brother will have a point where, for whatever reason, you're at your peak value, or you just have a weird coincidence where you will meet three or four, sometimes five women who have, even though they're all different, they have different qualities, women who are of a high quality and a high possibility of being of having wife potential. And when, when that event occurs in your life, because it's gonna happen. If it hasn't happened already, you have to be God, man, it's very difficult. You have to make the correct choice because they're all gonna look good. They're all gonna be into what you're saying. They're all gonna be pro black. They're all gonna want to come to the events. They're all that stuff. The wrong choice is a regretful thing because the chances of that type of event happening in your life again, where you meet an assortment of quality women, it doesn't happen more than once or twice in your whole lifetime, you know. So, and I know you're like, DC, how do you know? I'm not as young as I used to be. Just put it that way. And BB48 man says that they be with them big smelly living in the basement pizza. What's the breakfast type of crackers? Oh, you talking about the cosplay sisters? That's who they be with. Bottom shelf bread. Oh man, that's disappointing. That's disappointing. It is what it is, man. You know, I you know, if sister she wanna lay up with Urugu, hey, it's nothing I can do. Um, you know, speaking of laying up with Urugu, every now and then, and it happens every now and then, you'll meet a sister that is race first, and she's coming to this thing, and but she has a history with Urugu. That is something, you know, you got to weigh in the balance because everybody's not perfect. Everybody has a past, and you got to figure that one out. You got ripped off says your opinion on Nelly Fuller Jr. opinion on marriage that we're slaves tied down to the bottom of the ship together, and we must make an agreement that because we live in the system of wait a minute, hold up. Because we live in the system of racism, white supremacy, some things are going to happen like abuse or cheating. I never actually heard Nelly Fuller say that. What kind of abuse? I I feel like this. I mean, I understand we live in a system of racism and white supremacy. Things are going to happen. However, our goal is to be the best of men, right? And I understand that you can get in an environment, especially if you're a person that you become public, you can attract a lot of women. You can face a lot of temptation, but we are striving to be the best of men. Yeah, things are going to happen in a relationship. You may have some fights or arguments and things like that, but yeah, I don't think we can um, open up the door to what's the word I'm looking for? Um, Not advocate for that, but you understand what I'm saying. I'm drawing a blank for whatever reason, because once you do that, then before you know it, you just fall right down into Negro. It's just you know you just gonna end up being no different than a regular old Negro, and then what can you build? we know for a fact Negroes can't build anything, right? Africans can build things, Negroes can't build anything. Let's see. Brother Igwe says another topic could be men who come into consciousness while in relationships that were not conscious in the beginning. What did it do with a significant other? Oh man, I was trying to get off before you got to that. Whew, brother, oh my goodness. The reason I reacted that way is because I know a couple of brothers in that situation, and they, it is a struggle because it's like if you have children, you have to make that relationship work for the children. And if you have children, that see what happens is that you'll want to get your children involved, especially if you have sons, and then they'll start making roadblocks and start doing things. Even in fact, even if you don't have children, what a lot of times what'll happen, it's not enough for you to just do your thing, because you coming into consciousness and you want to study and go to events and build with the brothers and all that type stuff. It takes time away from her. The woman will get jealous of consciousness, right? You get jealous of your organization, things like that. And she'll try to do everything she can to put as many roadblocks in your way as possible to keep you from doing what you want to do, doing what you need to do, right? And that type of thing is very difficult. I've seen women, and if you've been in this movement anytime, I've seen those type of women literally drag the brothers out of movements and out of organizations because they just make it so difficult. Brothers, you got ripped off. Oh man, they make it so difficult for you to do anything positive that it like every disagreement ends up being about this, and it's hard, brother. I feel for any brother in that situation. It is. I can't. If you have children, you have to keep your family together as best as possible. If you don't, you're not married, it's just your girl doesn't want to follow the path, you on the path. I'm just be completely honest. You might want to seek other options, because she's going to make, anytime this comes up or anytime you're trying to do this type of work, she's going to make your life hell. I've seen it. I've seen it. It was a brother. This was my ace. This, like, when I say this was my ace, I'm talking about this is the type of dude that if I called and said, hey, look, I got an issue, he's going to show up. He's going to show up with them tools and that heat and be like, where they at? Let's handle it. Right? He was with a woman, right? This was years ago when I was younger. He was with a woman, right, that he was trying to teach. And she did everything she could to pull him out, to sabotage. To sabotage his relationship, not just with me, but with the community that we're a part of, right? To the point that we went somewhere one time, all three of us went somewhere one time. He stopped at his cousin's house or whatever, I can't remember, right? He goes upstairs. His girl and myself, we're sitting downstairs. So we're in the living room. She's on one end of the couch. I'm at the other end of the couch. True story. I've told this story before, but never publicly. This female kicks her shoes off and throws her feet in my lap. Again, this is my boy's girl, right? My ace. We like brothers. He just went upstairs, right? He could come downstairs at any moment. She does that. Why does she do that? She does that because she wants to cause a rift between me and him so that he's not part of the organization anymore, so that she can take him off and take him away from us, right? Because she doesn't want knowledge. He had knowledge when they met. So rather than just leaving him alone or whatever the case may be, she's going to try her best to pull him away from the knowledge. And then, unfortunately for him, he ended up getting the sister pregnant. Complete disaster, right? So when you talked about that, brother, when you brought that up, I just had a flashback to that situation. I've seen it more than once, but that was a personal situation because that was my ace. And that woman was making his life a living hell. She was doing everything she could to pull him away from us. I mean, so yeah, I feel for any brother in that situation, man. You know, it depends on, again, I would never tell anybody to dissolve their marriage because we believe in black marriage. But if you're not married and you can get away from that situation, yeah, you know, you might want to take a look at it. And brother said I cannot accept a black woman that's ever been with Jarugu. I understand that. I understand that. Um, and Lord Bell says thoughts on women mostly seeking high value guys only. Oh man, so we got the high value discussion. So when you say high value, I'm taking it that you're saying the definition that I hear all over YouTube now that was made famous by a person in particular whose name I will not mention. Um, well, I just look at it like this. Those type of women are probably not going to be um attracted to this community because this community isn't known for that. Now, we know that there are brothers in the community who would fit that classification by income and some of the other things that I heard that go along with it, right? But at the same time, being part of this community, um, even with the money and things like that, it generally you won't have the social connections that go along with that high value concept, at least as I've heard it described, because it's kind of very hard to traverse both worlds because those people tend to be not just part of, not just part the social class that they're part of, but also the different social organizations. So you have the whole Greek system and some of the other things that go with it. Some of the other, the Chamber of Commerce, and some of these other organizations that are, they may not be anti-black, but most of them are anti-African, you know. And so, like I said, very few of us actually have to exist in both worlds. I actually know a couple of brothers that exist in both worlds. But if you exist in that world and you know, you meet that type of woman, I mean, you can tell, you know, right away. But generally speaking, a woman that's looking for that is not looking for a brother that's race first. Like if she sees you, sees you because of your car or sees you at a certain charitable event or things like that, you're well dressed and so forth, so on. That's the man she's approaching, right? Now, when you take her to the straight black pride event, she can be like, wait a minute, I thought you were this person. You know what I'm saying? So most brothers, I mean, they kind of know what those women, how those women are, what they're looking for, and most brothers know when they present their whole self, that woman's she's gonna look for something else anyway. So I hope that answered your question on that, brother. Any other questions? Since Brother Igwe wants to, he wanted to throw that out there. I was kind of trying to duck that one, but I know it's a real question, and brothers want to know, and it really has to be answered, and it happens a lot. Um, that's why I believe in is this one saying from Christianity that I've heard that I was like, yeah, that makes sense. I believe that. That makes perfect sense. And it's the concept of being equally yoked. Um, you got to be everybody in the boat got to be rowing in the same direction, or else the boat spins around, eventually flips over, and we all drown. And so that's why I'm big on trying to either find a sister that's open to knowledge or a sister that has knowledge, and those two people getting together, because there are sisters that have knowledge. There, it's not. It looks barren sometimes, especially now because you don't get to interact with people as much. You don't get to travel as much. So if you're whatever's in your location, that's kind of what you're limited to right now. So, and people aren't having events. So other than like social media and, maybe even dating apps, which I don't think is a whole lot of content sisters on there, you just don't get the, you don't get the interaction, and you don't get the, what's the word I'm looking for? You don't get to check out as many women just physically. You're not around as many women. We're not socializing as much because of the pandemic. So things are limited. That's why I made those suggestions about the gym and the yoga class and things like that. Um, but yeah, so the reason I wanted to do this, I'm be let me be candid for a minute. The reason it took me so long to do this show was because I wanted to have good news. And then the pandemic came, and I was like, well, I have to rethink the whole process of socializing in an environment where socializing had been virtually outlawed. You know what I'm saying? So then once I did that, I was like, okay, it's Black Love Days coming up, and then eventually the weather's going to break. Hopefully things start to open up, people start interacting more. Let me put this on the table and discuss it with the brothers, and we can talk about some things, hash out some issues, and give brothers some psychological weaponry to go out into the rough waters of dating while conscious. Because let's be very clear, it's more difficult for brothers who are strong, are principled, are unapologetically masculine, unapologetically heterosexual, and unapologetically race first. It's harder for that type of black man to find a quality woman and get cooperation from that woman than it is for some of the least valuable brothers in our community. It's just a fact. And when you look at these statistics, if I can get it out, the fact that 51% of black men are single and childless, and yet you hear sisters talking about these brothers with all these children and this and that, you realize that women are literally all looking at the same type of man and complaining about that man, and overlooking the men in the community who are trying to do the right thing, men in the community who are trying to build things, men in the community who are trying to do what's right in an environment where doing the wrong thing is rewarded, right? Look, what's his name? Joe Biden literally just said that transgender rights is the civil rights issue of our time. So he's saying that men who put on dresses are more valuable than men who do not put on dresses. That's the environment we're in the 21st century in America. We are the outlier. We are the, like the movie The Matrix, we are the anomaly, right? We're the ones that they're going to seek out and try to destroy. We're the ones that have to take on the burden of continuing the fight against racism, white supremacy, and the homophile agenda. And we are, because of that, the best of men. So when you, and I'm not saying that to be arrogant, I'm just saying that as a fact. Because first of all, being African makes you greater. And then being an African who is, or at least has a part of his African mind, makes you greater than just being African. Right? Dr. Welsing said that sisters shouldn't even deal with a brother that's not fighting racism and white supremacy. Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad said that sisters shouldn't deal with a brother unless he's a straight soldier. We are that which the ancestors said are the best of men. So when you go into a situation with a sister, do not forget this in your pursuit of a compliment, and let it make you make a decision that you will regret later. Right? Like they say in Black Panther, brothers, remember who you are. As a race first African man, you deserve to be treated with respect, loved, and admired by your Black woman. And if you get in a situation with a sister and you begin to deal with her and you're not getting those things, you should do like main source and look at the front door. Brother, you got ripped off says that before COVID, the Census Bureau comprised data stating by 2060, the Black community will rise to 74.5 million. I see Biden doing everything he can to stop that. Right. And we've been socially engineered for there to be discord between Black men and Black women, in addition to the whole homophile agenda. So I just want to let brothers know that. I hope everybody got some useful information out of the show. I appreciate your support. I appreciate everybody coming in. It looked like the brothers came in late, but they came in. Looked like the sisters disappeared. I don't know if they logged off or they just laying in the cut listening. You know, I'm not sure. Real quick, I think I announced this before, but Brother BB Fahodi, man, I made you a moderator, and I believe you got ripped off and made you a moderator as well. So I may be on tomorrow to talk about this whole Joe Biden transgender thing. Depends on what my day looks like. If so, I'll be on either at 2 or 4 p.m. And so we'll talk about Joe Biden's transgender agenda and his assault on Africa that he just announced. So with that, brothers and sisters that I know are somewhere in here, I thank you all for your support. I thank you all for listening. Again, don't forget to follow me on the various social media. If you're not following me on them already, follow me on Instagram at dc.radical1, on Twitter at DC_radical_ONE. The Cash App is $DC Radical1. Of course, this is the YouTube page, capital D, small c, Radical1. And soon, and very soon, I will have a page on OTWTube. So I'll let you all know when that happens. And Sister Nina was here hiding, talking about looking at the front door was her jam. Yeah, Large Professor was really talented, brother. So, with that, brothers and sisters, thank you all again. Until next time, I say a BB for Hodier and straight black pride.